I think there's a lot of heart in kitsch. Kitsch is like, I sincerely am creating this waterfall in my home, and I think it's so beautiful. And I sincerely love it. The creators of kitsch things are sincere, and I love sincerity. It's very unpretentious design.
Welcome to the On the Wall podcast, where we engage in conversations with artists, designers, enthusiasts, and visionaries who shape the world of interiors. Today's guest is Margaret Bienert from A Pretty Cool Hotel Tour. Margaret and her husband Corey created a social media channel with over 700,000 followers that engage in their love for all things kitsch, from their hotel tours to decorating their own home. Their adventures culminated in a book of some of their most memorable hotel experiences. If you enjoy these conversations, please subscribe, leave a rating, leave a review, and share this podcast with a friend. Welcome to the On the Wall podcast. Thank you for joining me in the first episode of season 4. Can you believe it? We've been doing this for 4 years now, and we're just getting started, and we're just starting to grow and add new things like videos. So if you haven't already, if you're used to kind of hearing us on audio podcasts, whether it's Apple or Spotify or through the website, just know that you can watch and subscribe on YouTube, which might be interesting today. Over the last few episodes, I think we've tried to do more with the video, and today we're going to be talking about all things kitsch with Margaret from A Pretty Cool Hotel Tour, who's going to be my guest today. So we'll be going through some photos and whatnot on the YouTube version, the video version of the podcast. But if you prefer the audio, I'll do my best to describe what we're looking at, so you don't feel like you're missing out too much. But if you do want to visit us on the YouTube or watch it on YouTube, it's youtube.com/@onthewall_podcast, or you can just search it in YouTube search engine, and I'm sure you'll find it there. Make sure you subscribe. And, if you enjoy the podcast, do make sure that you're sharing it on social media. You can follow us on Instagram now, posting a bunch of clips as well as reposting just interesting things from the interior design world that we find interesting. And you can follow us there at On the Wall podcast _official, or just, search in Instagram. I'm sure you'll find us there. But without further ado, let's see if our guest is ready to join us. Margaret from A Pretty Cool Hotel Tour. All right, joining me now is Margaret Bienert from A Pretty Cool Hotel Tour. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. Thanks for giving me some of your time today. I really appreciate it. I have so much to talk about. Let me start at the beginning. So I first know about you from your social media, which is A Pretty Cool Hotel Tour on Instagram, where you pretty much document going to all sorts of motels and hotels all over the country. You're experiencing all these kind of mostly like themed places. It seems like they have certain themes and all that kind of stuff. Why don't you just give us a little bit of background in terms of like, how did you decide one day that you were going to start like a social media channel based on this idea?
Yeah, great question. This was back in 2018 was when I officially made this a project, but I had started to discover these weird little hotels that were just one-off, like artist-made motels and hotels that were generally catering towards adults and like romantic getaways. So instead of like a Disney hotel that might really cater to families or a resort, these were honeymoon suites, anniversary type places. And my husband and I worked together. We've worked together for a long time. So we were already traveling a lot for work. We both do photography and video production. And we stayed in a lot of hotels, and they all looked the same over and over. And so we never really had much time to travel. So I said, what if we tried to like stay at a little bit more fun places when we're traveling to these random cities? And one day we were like, okay, let's try it. We stayed at a place with a heart-shaped tub. And I was like, wow, that was so cool. And I had no idea that was there. They don't really advertise. They're not on social media. And then it kind of spiraled from there. So that was, I think, in 2017 that I was like, oh, I want to do some research. So I ended up doing a ton of research just in like each state, just to see, is there more of this type of theme hotel or romantic getaway, and basically built out this huge list. So then from maybe 2018 to I mean, even the last couple years, I've slowly added to my social media of showing these places. And the cool thing is now, I mean, we came out with a book, I think in 2023, and a lot of these places we've encouraged to get online because that's where a lot of people will find you. And also, they need cheap ways of advertising because they're small businesses. So, anyway, now it's kind of cool because a lot of them are starting to get on Instagram and TikTok and all that. But yeah, just kind of fell in love with the weird little culture of these kind of sometimes like total roadside motel theme room and sometimes bigger, more elaborate ones. But yeah, I think I fell in love with it. And luckily my husband is usually along for the ride if I am interested in a project. And yeah, that's kind of how we ended up where we are today.
On the Wall is brought to you by Milton and King, your trusted partner for luxury crafted wall coverings. Milton and King's trade program is designed to make your creative process seamless, offering exclusive trade-only benefits such as complimentary samples, early access to new collections, and professional pricing structured to enhance your business success. To assist with your projects, you'll have the flexibility to create your own custom swatchbook, tailored specifically to your design needs. With dedicated customer support every step of the way, our trade program is here to elevate your design vision and simplify your journey from inspiration to installation. Ready to join a partner who understands your craft? Visit miltonandking.com to apply for your trade account today. Milton and King, your vision, our craftsmanship.
So you said you're doing video production and photography and things like that. What sort of stuff were you doing that was causing you to travel so much? Like, what sort of work was it?
Yeah. We both, when we met in, oh man, 2008, we were both doing photography and started doing weddings together. So for maybe
Okay.
5 or so years, we traveled doing weddings. And then once we lived in California, we started getting extra jobs doing commercial. So, a brand might need a website video. So we would both go fly out to sometimes a totally random city and sometimes just big
Okay.
cities, but always either wedding or like brand video.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So did you enjoy like traveling outside of work? Was that something that were you sort of liked road trips and things like that? Was that something that you were into?
I do. I love travel. My husband is very like, he's excited to see cool things, but he's not going to do the research. He's not like out there looking for like, what could we go see? So luckily,
Hmm.
he's down for it when I find something. But I was raised with five other siblings. I'm one of six, and we did a lot of family road trips. So like we'd get in a van and we'd drive to some state and like, I don't know, I think it's always been a fun way to discover new things because especially like if we were driving to see grandparents, maybe we'd be driving across 3 states, even just stopping for a night in a little town that you have no real business being there except to just stay the night. I've always found it
Right.
kind of a fun way to get like a little glimpse at a different area or a different city without planning a vacation there. You're just getting a little taste. So I think that's always been something
Right.
that I've really loved.
And the hotel itself or the motels is the attraction.
Yeah.
It's not an afterthought of like, oh, we'll stay here because we're gonna go see this other thing. It's like, no, we're going there to go to the hotel.
Yes. Yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes if we're in, a small town in Idaho or something, people at restaurants will be like, so wait, why are you here? And we're like, for this hotel. And people are like, but what brought you here? Why are you booking that hotel? And we'd be like, no, we literally came to see this hotel. Because at first we
Yeah.
were only going when we were traveling for work. But then I started going, well, this place is only an 8-hour drive. We really have to go see. So it became more of its own project.
Yeah. I saw the potato hotel that you went to in Idaho.
Yes, very, very fun. And you just never know when these things are, somewhere not that far from where you're already going to be. I'm someone who considers an 8-hour drive a quick, easy, like 1 day drive because
Who
we
does the
have
driving?
spent so much. It's really a split.
Okay, good.
We'll usually do like 4 hours and then take a break and
Yeah.
then 4 hours. And that way we know when our breaks are. So we kind of plan for that.
Oh, that's good. How did you and your husband meet?
We met in college, and I was doing
Okay.
photography, and he was doing more video production. So this really,
Oh, cool.
I would say this started as kind of a collaboration even from the beginning. It's just that I was trying to figure out like, I know we work together well, but I was like, but what do we want to do? And it took me like
Yeah.
10 years of working with him before. I was like, oh, this sounds like us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool. What would you say are some of your, I mean, obviously you've traveled to so many hotels now. How many is it? Do you know? Like, have you racked up a count of like how many places you've actually been to?
When we were working on the book, I made a list, and I know it was over 50, but it was probably around 50 at the time. And a lot of those places, I always say like hundreds of rooms, because like, let's say a theme hotel has 10 themed rooms. Once we started putting real budget towards going, we would stay for 3 nights, and we would stay in my top 3 favorite rooms. And then we would make like a little video about it. So I think at this point, I know it's over 50 of actual hotel locations.
That was also a question that I had, is because I saw you're on your Instagram and on your YouTube, you're going through these places and you're kind of giving us a rundown of kind of like a general, like quick glimpse of what it looks like, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wondering, are you actually staying in these places, or are you kind of just doing like day visits where you're kind of checking it out and then leaving, or are you actually like sleeping there and showering there and waking up there and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I would say 9 times out of 10, we're actually staying there because I really like getting the experience. Every once in a while, if we're doing a long road trip, and let's say we only have a week, so we only have, 6 nights, I'll sometimes add one in, but I'll usually tell people like, we didn't stay here, but I want to show you, because I do think there's a difference. But I also try to make it clear, especially even when we put out the book or when we have done YouTube, I usually will say like, I'm not necessarily a travel content creator. I study these hotels. So I'm not here to tell you like the best place to go for your vacation. I'm showing you places, and a ton of people do go on vacation to these places, or even people will say like, oh my gosh, we went on our honeymoon at that place you posted. But I usually tell people to do their own research on the actual hotel, because I'm there for the decor, I'm there for the backstory, I'm there for the art. And maybe I enjoy it, but I always tell people standards are different with travel across the board. You might really care that there's a certain type of, room service, whereas I'm like, the door locks, the sheets were clean, and I'm excited to be here. So I think I have steered away from becoming like a travel kind of content creator, and more of just like focused on this culture of unique hotels.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into the decor part next, but just a kind of a quick, just curious little question. Have you ever stayed in any of these places that are like pretty cool looking, but you go there and like, oh, I would never stay there again?
Yes. And I also never want to like throw shade on people's businesses. And again, I'm not a travel person, but there have been times that I have said, I personally would never stay here again, but here are my favorite rooms, or I'm usually not like getting into the nitty gritty of things, but I will show like if something's really dirty or if things are really broken or seem unsafe at all, I'm just going to say that, because I'm like, look, I understand what it's like being a business owner, but there are certain safety things that even I will say, just so you know, but the good thing is, because these hotels most of the time are adults only, I'm a little less concerned with like the safety of children. I'm more like, hey, if you're an adult, look into this hotel, do your own research, because every once in a while, I think we've only left a hotel to stay somewhere else like twice, and they were when I was like, it just feels like it's not clean, and if I don't feel like it's clean enough for me to sleep in, like I don't want to stress and be up all night. So it's pretty rare. Like I feel like most of the time it's even if it's a less quality like bed or whatever, it's not that concerning. But yes, there are definitely places that I have told people, this is a great place to see, wouldn't necessarily be that comfortable if you're looking for a romantic getaway.
Right. That is another big theme too, as well, when it comes to the hotels and motels that you're staying in, is they seem to be not like, there's some that are just themed in whatever theme that they are, but it seems a lot of them that you're finding interest in are sort of like the honeymoon hotels. You know what I mean? Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Is that sort of the majority that you've experienced, would you say?
Yeah, I think I would say a majority of what we have looked for and what I've looked for have been those more like honeymoon specific locations, or again, the adults only. And I think I find it so interesting because instead of, again, there's like cool Disney hotels or family resorts where like there will definitely be a theme to the room, but it's very kid friendly and kid focused. My husband and I both have very religious backgrounds. And I think in our adult life got more into like doing our own discovery of like how we live in the world and kind of found that these, I don't know, just like adults only places that are focused on like romance was so interesting to me as someone who might have seen that as like not for me before. Now I'm like, oh, it's cool that there are spaces for adults, even if they're
Hmm.
supposed to be for romance. Like that's like there's a definitely a reputation of that being disgusting or gross or whatever. And I think I kind of wanted to be like, well, let me see these places for myself because if they're actually not gross, I want to know why it's wrong. Like I want to know why this is bad. And so I think I
Yeah.
like the aspect of these designs that, you know, sometimes I'll post a video of a heart-shaped tub and half the comments are like, disgusting, you're going to get a disease. And I'm like, really? Because of the shape of the tub? Because it's a brand new tub, you know? Like I'm very
Yeah.
like I like to kind of push back and be like, is it actually bad design? Like is it actually, you know, like what I'm just kind of curious about that, the perspective of like this is dirty or this is gross. And
Right.
so I like to discover these places. And some of these places are so cool, so clean, so high quality, handmade. And I'm like, sorry, like I just like to show people that there's a range out there. It's not all just like you shouldn't be in these types of places. Like, I don't know. I think I like to make people think about that.
Yeah, and also you're doing it. You're experiencing all this like with your husband. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing like you're doing it within the confines of your monogamous married
You
relationship.
think
You know what I
that,
mean?
but it's there's still this weird reputation. And I unfortunately for anyone who's uncomfortable with us doing it in our families or whatever, we both are not like we're not very confrontational. We're just a little bit like, look, we're going to be ourselves and
Yeah.
not feel like we're hiding anything. And I think it's there's this culture of like, not that romance is evil, but it's definitely like, should that be celebrated? Should that be like what you're focusing on? Like, shouldn't you be? I don't know. It feels like the messages we can receive from people in our lives that it feels a lot like maybe this shouldn't be celebrated so much. And we're like, no, we think it should be celebrated. And we like that it is, I don't know, just this very unique space that, again, I'm all for the hotels that are very family friendly, focused on kids. That's all great. But I just like that there's both.
Yeah. 100%. And I'll circle it back around to what you just mentioned a little bit later. But I just want to get into before we get into the decor, one of the things that I have noticed with a lot of these places is that um, they seem to be, a lot of them seem to be closing, or they haven't really adapted to kind of the social media
Mm-hmm.
era, which seems almost counterintuitive because they are so themed, or because they have like a, for lack of a better term, like a brand identity. You would think that like
Mm-hmm.
a place like Instagram or social media would really be helping them a lot, but maybe it's just, I don't know, owners that really haven't evolved to using social media, because it really seems like now would be the time that those places would be booming.
Yes. No, I agree. And I do think there has been more of a boom for a lot of them because of the internet, for sure. But again, meeting these people and hearing their stories, they're oftentimes places that are cool and themed and unique need that artist touch. So if something breaks, it's not like, oh, just get a handyman in there and he'll fix it. It's like, well, we have to resculpt the rock and then we have to repaint. And that, like, the people who are really hands on and creating some of these really unique spaces and caring for them, I think their attention is pretty taken up by just running the place and being the artist that makes it so special. So we've met some that now their kids are a little bit involved. And I've told some of them, like, hey, even if you're posting a photo, or even if you just post a video of each room and don't do anything else, at least you're searchable. Like I've definitely worked on what's like, I used to be like, start all these social media channels. And I'm like, okay, what is possible for like a small brand who doesn't even know where to start? And
Yeah.
I do think the other thing is the internet is confusing because you'll see something that has millions of views and you're like, oh, this is going to change their lives. They're going to have so many visitors. But the truth is, it's so easy to be a fan of something that takes you 1 minute to consume and go, that's cool. I like that. But how many of those people are booking plane tickets, are taking their vacations to go to this town to see this hotel? I think it is very niche, no matter how popular the visuals are, no matter how fascinating the rooms are. It takes a lot of interest to get there. So, and it's expensive to run small places with custom work. So I always try to get people to, I encourage a lot of people to road trip. I'm like, if you have the time, instead of flying somewhere and, getting there in 4 hours, if you could drive for one of those days and like stop at a couple places, like, yes, you might be in your place for a little bit of shorter time, but there are these really cool places that it's fun to experience and maybe not build an entire trip around. And I think there are a lot of people who are very interested. And so the culture stays alive. But we also see a lot of places that are really cool and unique, updating in ways that they're trying to cater to people who are less interested in the like over the top theme, which of course makes me sad because I'm like, no, don't get rid of your weird tropical carpeting and put in like gray floors. But they're like, but people hate carpeting. And I'm like, oh, you're right. So many people hate carpeting. So I do understand. But I do think we're in this era where so many people are discovering these places because of the internet, but these places are old. So either people are leaving reviews saying this is old, or they're updating and they're making it a little less themed, but still more like finding more of an audience. So over these years that I've visited these places, I've tried to be more and more understanding of when they're remodeling. A lot of the time it's just trying to listen to what their customers are asking for. And there are some real like solid gems who I think are, again, like in the hotel day to day and are really able to care for each room so well. But a lot of places, they're not able to do that. So
yeah, I didn't actually that didn't even register for me how, because the decor is so one-off, that it's not easy to replace if something does break, because they're not just going down to whatever sink place or furniture place or whatever it is and just kind of slotting the new one in. It's like they're one of a kind type of stuff. So that's interesting.
It's true.
Okay, so getting into the decor a bit, you describe it as kitsch or kitschy. Define that a little bit for me and for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, kitsch, I feel like when I first started hearing people describe these places as kitsch, it was kind of like a dirty word. It meant like, this is not serious design. This is like very almost like uneducated in design. They're like trying to copy other looks, or they're trying to like bring like fake nature. Like if you find a room where like they've built a waterfall and have a fake palm tree, that's very kitsch. They're like trying to recreate nature or copy someone else's style. And I there's another word that is in the actual meaning of kitsch that's like, it's not emotional, but it's like over emotionalizing something about design, that it basically is trying to say this isn't like a serious educated design. It's someone kind of copying other things, or just I can't even think of the other word, but it generally is not taken seriously. Almost like the play school
version of something. Like, I don't know if you remember the place, like, you know what I mean? Like the toy version of something.
Yes, exactly. It's so much of that. Like, it's like the like Barbieification of something. So I feel like it isn't taken very seriously, and I understand why. It might be not serious, and it might not have much like understanding of design when someone's creating something kitsch. But I think there's a lot of heart in kitsch. It's a lot of people who, they don't think I'm making something kitsch. I think camp, people understand when they're making something camp because they're kind of doing it on purpose. They're making kitsch kind of on purpose. Whereas kitsch is like, I sincerely am creating this waterfall in my home and I think it's so beautiful. And I sincerely love it. I love seeing my fake palm tree, and I I'm emotionally connected to this design, whereas other people might think like this looks like a Disney theme park ride, and that's not cool. I think it's in this funny world where like the creators of kitsch things are sincere, and I love sincerity. Like I love seeing people who are like, I'm not being nonchalant. I'm not, this isn't a little joke. I truly spent my summer building a spaceship bed for me and my wife to sleep in because I think it's cool. And I'm like, you're living. And I love that. Like, I love that these people aren't, they don't seem to be trying to impress as much as they're trying to create a really unique experience. And especially when it's at these kind of like honeymoon type places for other couples. So they're like, we really, we want couples to have this place where they can escape. Some of these places don't have windows. And especially if it's like a space themed room, it's all like dark with glowing lights. And it's just this idea of like, I don't know. I think people can laugh at kitsch because they're like, again, using the space theme. Like, you guys are going to go stay in a room with no windows and have fake sparkling lights and sleep in a spaceship bed. That sounds like so childish and dumb. And I'm like, or it sounds like something that my husband and I are going to laugh about for the next 10 years in a good way of like, that was the funniest night. Remember when you fell down the stairs because it was so dark? Like, it's very like experiential. So I think that's
just
kitsch.
fun.
I think it's fun with no requirements of any type of like, there's no bar. You can just, as long as you're creating for fun and out of your own interests, I think, that's
your nose
what
isn't stuck up in the air like it. Oh, this is, I'm too good for this. It's just
very unpretentious design.
Right. Yeah. So what are some of your favorite, I noticed that you put a lot of focus on the heart-shaped tubs. What are some of the other kind of decor elements that you're finding in these spaces that really stands out to you as being like, oh, this is cool the way they're doing this?
I think I have found that especially the themed rooms started, at least the American ones, started in like the 70s and 80s. So they seem to be based off of like what really big cultural either movies or something like that was. So there's always a cave room, and that always, for some reason, always has a round bed. And I think that's always really fun. So we got a round bed once we were traveling these places.
What is that a reference to? Is that like Planet of the Apes kind of stuff, or like, what is that?
I think so. I think Planet of the Apes, and there was something else that came out. I mean, there's always like a jungle room, and I feel like that's very Tarzan. There's usually like an under the sea. Yeah, like I feel like they got all, because a lot of these places were in the Midwest. Yeah. So if you're thinking about Hollywood and like what people are hearing about and seeing come out of Hollywood, they're going, well, why can't we have that in Wisconsin? And then they build like truly incredible rooms that look like, a big spaceship that is a 2-story spaceship where you sleep in the top, or like, what's another one? Like they always have a under the sea and a jungle. And then usually the Cupid one is more of the like based on kind of the Poconos design that has mirrors on the ceiling and a heart-shaped tub. So I kind of like too that we found after going to all these places, there's kind of the set top popular ones that there even was a company for a little while trying to not mass manufacture, but kind of sell kits of like, we can come install this under the sea or this 50s themed room. So I think, I mean, one of my favorite things that I've always wanted to get, which so far we haven't, is they made a lot of car beds out of old Cadillacs. So there's one hotel that closed, I think last year in Indiana. And I have all these photos from the news where they're like loading this Cadillac car bed onto like a truck to take it somewhere. And I was like, no, where's this going? Because I'm sure a lot of people are like, no, this should be a car. And I'm like, no, leave the queen size mattress in it. It's so cool. But I did contact the people who got it, and they were excited because they're able to restore the engine. So that's great. But I wish it was still a bed. So I think I've always liked the big unique pieces, but I also think, round beds are always really fun. The other thing that I've always loved is a lot of these places have like a twinkling star ceiling so that when you're laying in bed, you can have all the lights off, but there's like a fiber optic, just like light twinkling of lights above you. And I think that's always really fun. And I feel like it depends on the place, but I feel like those are kind of the big ones, like the circle bed, the ceiling mirror, twinkling lights, heart-shaped tub, or any kind of weird tub. There's all sorts of custom weird tubs out there.
Introducing Benchmade Modern. Tailored sofas crafted just for you, delivered in as little as 4 weeks. Create a custom piece that perfectly reflects your style. Choose from our collection of designs from timeless to modern. Customize the size, then personalize with your ideal fabric, cushion, and leg style. Discover your dream sofa today.
So after you have gone to all these places, you were approached. I'm guessing that you were approached to write a book, to create a book
Yes, yeah.
on your
Mhm.
experiences.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how that came about.
We had been posting for a couple years. I think someone approached us in 2021 at some point. And I mean, I had already been thinking about really wanting to make a book with all the photos that we had and talking about these places, but I didn't really know where to start. But I had basically just started a folder of like, these are the places that I really would want to make a book about. And so when someone reached out and they said, I've been following you for a while, I really love this, have you thought about this? I was like, absolutely, here's a whole folder. And it just kind of went from there, where we talked about like, okay, how could we structure it and what do we want to include? And that was really fun. The only funny part was figuring out how to talk to some of these hotels that were like, why would you want to put us in a book kind of thing. But yeah, it was really cool to get to make that.
If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see this is the cover of the book. Hotel Kitsch is a pretty cool hotel, a pretty cool tour of America's fantasy getaway.
Mm-hmm.
And it was put together by you and your husband together. So is this all your guys' photography?
It's all our photography. The only thing that we included that's not ours is like old Life magazine, a couple Life magazine images that we licensed, because the first heart-shaped tub was in Life magazine, and that's when it really blew up. And then I think we licensed a couple other like vintage Poconos photos, because a lot of those places don't exist anymore, but I still wanted to share some of that history. So anything that's an old licensed photo would say, you know, this is I think one was maybe from a People magazine from like one of the theme hotels that opened. But yeah, other than that, it's all our photos.
Okay. So this is, I'm going through a couple of the photos from the book, but so this is like, would be the under the sea kind of theme.
Mm-hmm.
It's got
this is
like a round bed with the under in a clamshell kind of thing for those that are
all
just listening.
Hand carved, and then at night there are fiber optic lights in the shell. So when the lights are off, you turn on the bed. It's like really gently sparkles. It's so cool.
Oh, really?
These artists are truly incredible.
So where's this one from?
This is in Pocatello, Idaho, at the Black Swan Inn.
Okay. I'm just going through some of these. Looks like a giant cocktail glass or something.
Yeah.
Where's this one?
Giant bathtub. That's in the Poconos.
Is that actually
that's
a bathtub?
One of the. Yeah. That's a massive jacuzzi tub.
Awesome.
That is actually this room. So there are 3 hotels left in the Poconos that are still like this, but this one just closed, I think, at the beginning of last year. So a little over a year ago, maybe. But there are 2 other resorts out there that have similar rooms with the champagne glass tub, as they call it.
That's awesome. Did you go inside the tub and experience it?
We've been there many times. This was the hotel that kind of inspired me to do more, because we fell in love. It's a resort. It's all couples. It's almost otherworldly. Everyone there is so fascinating, and also just like the whole thing feels like a throwback in so many ways. It's so fun.
And we're looking at one here that's another round bed in a tropical kind of vibe.
This is one of the classic jungle rooms. I believe this one is in Iowa. Yeah, this must be a designer in Iowa. This is again one of the classics, and I love it.
It's got that floral bedding, but with palm trees all over, and it's like some parrots and a leopard on the foot of the bed.
All sorts of fake foliage. Yep.
This kind of looks like a room that has like almost like a Cinderella's pumpkin.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This is Cinderella themed. Yeah, it's a bathroom, but the outside just fully looks like a giant pumpkin that you're walking into. This also is done by a couple This is at the Roxbury in New York, and they
Okay.
created some of the most intricate theme rooms I've ever seen. That they're next level.
Uh, this one looks like it's a his and hers sink in an ice cave of some sort.
Yeah, yep, that's in Kentucky. That was an interesting one for sure.
Okay, and then we have that's pretty cool. So this is an Egyptian theme. You got the King Tut's kind of, what do
I
you
feel
call those
is it
things?
called an
Sarcophagus or
is it
something?
is it an obelisk or something? It's one of those Egyptian towers, but it's got a mini
Oh, right.
fridge and a microwave
It's got
in
a mini
it.
fridge and a microwave. Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
creative.
There's the picture of the heart-shaped tub, which I'll
Of
circle back to
course.
in a second because I know that you brought that home in a way.
True. Yeah.
And then there's a picture of the Cadillac bed.
Yep, one of the car beds.
Yeah, very cool.
It's
And
all
so
very
tell
fun.
me, so that book is out now, right?
Yep, it's at all kinds of bookstores. You can order it online. It's very fun.
Okay. And so it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all
Yes.
that kind of stuff. Okay, so
Yep,
we'll
Barnes and
we'll
Noble,
put a link to
Amazon.
the book in the show notes so people can
Awesome.
check that out because
Cool.
this is I just showed just a couple of photos from that, but it's full of how many hotels and motels would you say are in it?
I think we only included maybe 30 or so because I was trying to find the ones that were the most not that again, I'm not a travel person per se, but the ones that I would
Yeah,
more recommend looking into because they're a little bit more kept up, I would say.
yeah. When I think about it, like the only I had never been to it, but growing up in Southern California, the only hotel that I had ever heard of that was kind of in that vein was the Madonna Inn. Did you guys ever go
Oh, of
there?
course. Oh yeah. The end papers in our book are their famous carpet. They're very big in
Okay.
the kitsch loving community. Yeah.
Yeah. I always remember that was like a thing, like, oh, when you get married, you got to go to the Madonna Inn. That's like the place
Yeah.
you go for your honeymoon. But
Yes.
never made it up there in San Luis Obispo.
Oh,
I was
it's very cool.
I was in Southern California. So you guys are in California now.
We are right now. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. But you grew up
In the
was it
Midwest. Yeah.
in the Midwest? Yeah.
I grew up in
So,
Wisconsin. My husband grew up in Illinois, but now we're Michigan. Yeah.
okay. So that leads me to Michigan.
hmm
You guys have recently, well, I don't know how recent, maybe a year ago, or was it 2 years ago? You guys purchased your own home and have turned it into like a Airbnb, like short-term rental kind of place, right?
Yeah, we actually bought it 5 years ago, but it
Okay.
took us many years to even get to the point where we were like, okay, now we can put up wallpaper. So about a year ago, we started sharing the decorating process, but it's
Yeah.
been a journey for sure.
So I've been following that. So you how did you find the house? And I'm assuming
We
that you guys this was your primary home for a little while, or
Yeah, we lived there for the years we were working on it. We basically during peak pandemic 2020 era, a lot of our travel was getting canceled, a lot of our work was getting canceled, and we were kind of figuring out, okay, what do we do? Do we
all
stay in
right.
California and just wait it out? Do we do something else? And so we had helped a friend work on their Airbnb. And I was like, oh, well, design is kind of fun. We've always wanted to own a home, but we figured we never would because the prices in California are so high. And I was like, well, we've always really loved the Midwest and I love Michigan. Let's just look. Like, what if there's a more affordable home there? And we went at, I feel like, the best time to be looking because I think the interest rates were so low. We found this house that had been sitting on the market for a long time because everyone said it was a weird layout. So we actually told our realtor we saw maybe 5 houses that were all like pretty updated and we're like, this is not our style. So we literally said, are there any houses that everyone says this is weird or kind of ugly? And she was like, oh yeah, I'll take you straight there. And we went straight there and we're like, oh, this is it. And she was like, great. No one else says that. So it's just very like it almost feels like a retreat center. Like the living room has like a really
Mhm.
high ceiling. The kitchen is huge. There are 3 ovens. Like it just kind of feels like confusing and custom. And I think that's because the family before us actually designed and built it. So it feels like someone customized this house. But anyway, we bought it in the beginning of 2021. And it took us a
Okay.
few years, even just because the construction was so expensive. So redoing some floors, redoing some walls, having to get things fixed that you don't want to carpet over a problem. So if we were recarpeting a
Right.
room, we were like, oh shoot, now we have to do all this like structural boring stuff. So basically we started the fun stuff in like 2024 and then
Did you
started
know
capturing it.
when you got it that it was going to be what it is now? Or did you get
Actually,
it with just the
no.
purpose of like, this is just going to be our home?
Well, we thought you couldn't rent. We thought the area was no short-term rental. So for years as we were working on it, we thought you weren't allowed to. And actually, when things got really expensive, because you buy an old house, you don't always know how much money needs to go into it. As things got more and more expensive, and I was like, shoot, but I still want to like install a heart-shaped tub. That's even more expensive. We started thinking about like, okay, how could we afford this? So we thought, why not just look into the laws? Like maybe they've changed. And it turned out we were now in an area that allowed short-term rental. And that was only in 2024 that we found out it was
Oh, wow.
possible. So I like freaked out and was like, oh
Change
my
of
gosh, we have
plans.
to get licensed. Like this is all going to work out. Because before that, we had started to think like this could take us 5 to 10 years to get to the point of like installing a heart tub. And because we found out we could get licensed to rent, I was like, no, this is the plan. Like the rentals will pay for us to be able to finish our design. So obviously, like if we didn't need the money, I probably wouldn't be renting out the house because I would just want to be there however much I could, even though we like spending a lot of our time in California. But yeah, the rentals are what's helping us be able to do weird, expensive things like install a heart-shaped tub.
So you basically were able to take your love of kitsch and all the hotels that you have been experiencing over the past few years and bring it into your own home.
Yeah. Yeah. And that I think was inspired by seeing so many of these places close or renovate and feeling like, oh no, but I like, and even wanting some hotels will sell things. I would say, well, we have nowhere to put this. And now I feel like we have this place that hopefully for the rest of my life, if we get a weird, cool bed or if we get a cool tub, great, it's in the 5 or 10 year plan of like putting that in the house. So yeah, it's become a bigger and bigger dream as we've gone on.
So tell me a little bit about the house and sort of some of the interesting things that you brought into the home and different rooms. And
Yeah.
stuff. I have some pictures here that I'll show on the screen as well. But if you can kind of just go into
Yeah.
a little bit of everything that you brought into it to make it what it is.
Yeah, I think we really just were focused on like how can we make it really fun and feel like one of these vintage kitsch places, but also feel very usable because we both have big families. So we were already thinking like, okay, there's going to be a lot of people in here. So we brought in things like leopard carpeting in the stairway and in the hallway. We brought in a round bed that actually is a vintage bed that has like a heart-shaped kind of headboard. It's all red and fuzzy and it feels just like one of those old honeymoon suites. And then we also put up like tiger print wallpaper in that what we call the honeymoon suite. Yes, this is the one. And then we have 2 like high heel shoe chairs as the chairs. And then we found a bunch of these vintage panther and leopard lamps that are like so cool.
Where did you get
and
those?
Facebook Marketplace.
Okay.
Yeah, but we just found a couple people in Indiana and Michigan who had a couple. A lot of people are just getting rid of weird stuff that their, grandparents or parents gave them. And luckily we had a place for them. And then the ceiling in this room is actually like a stretched vinyl fabric that it's not a mirror, but it's like very reflective and cool and weird, kind of like, again, the like honeymoon suites that are very kind of romantic and over the top. And then in the closet of this room, we have a disco ball so that when you turn it on, the room has like a little disco vibe happening, which is very fun. And then
did you do all this yourself? Like you put up the wallpaper?
We did the wallpaper. We always painted. We did any of the woodwork, but we did not install carpet. We always had someone install carpet. And then for the ceiling, we had someone do the like stretch ceiling. And then you'll see when you get to the bathroom, we did no plumbing. Yeah, we decided that would be the big, like a professional's coming in for this because we had to move a toilet. They had to do all sorts of plumbing that we are not qualified for. So our contractors were incredible. But the heart-shaped
we're
tub
looking at the bathroom here. So this is, it's like
Yes.
pink tiles. Is this the only heart-shaped tub in the home?
Yes, so far.
Okay.
Yes. We have two
So
other
far.
heart-shaped tubs in storage, so
Okay.
we'll see when we get there. But
It's a beautiful pedestal
this
sink.
bathroom, yeah, that was a vintage pedestal sink. I think we got on like First Dibs, I think it's called. But basically, this room was, I feel like, what sold us the house was it's this massive bathroom. And before there was a tub in there, it was just empty space. Like it was just this massive bathroom. It felt like almost they made a mistake in the construction or something. But when we walked in, I was like, oh my gosh, this would be so easy to fit a heart shaped tub in here without like major reconstruction, not like tearing walls
Yeah.
down. It was just going to fit. So, yeah, that was a big one for me because I already knew that was the goal. So that's very fun.
Yeah.
And then we have another room. We've named them all. This is the Daydreamer. It has like a sunset mural on the ceiling, and then bow print wallpaper, and this vintage 80s bedroom set that's all mirrored. And everything is just supposed to feel very dreamy in here. And
Yeah.
I think
So what's the name of
it
this room?
does. This is the Daydreamer.
This is the Daydreamer. Okay.
Yes. And then this is called Star-Crossed. Now, this one does have the twinkling star ceiling above the bed.
I was going to say, I didn't know what that was until earlier in our conversation. You were talking about this was in one of those hotels that you stayed at.
Yeah. So it turns out you could just get the whole fiber optic star kit yourself. And this now, it can be different colors, but I usually just like a soft glow twinkling above the bed. And then the bed was also like I think it was early 90s. I know when we got it on Facebook Marketplace, someone had the original like paperwork from when they bought it. And so, yeah, that was very fun to find. We love to find big, weird pieces of furniture that are already made.
And you designed all this yourself? Style it all yourself?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You did a really good job.
Based on, thank you. Just
it's
based
really beautiful.
on all these rooms that we really love.
That's amazing.
This, I will say, is the bathroom we did the least amount of work to. We had fully run out of budget by then, so we just painted and put up a neon sign, called it a day.
Hey,
but still, I had to bring in
really
something.
Well.
Yeah. So that's looking down into the living room. And again, that's kind of why I feel like it feels like a retreat. It's very like big and expansive. Yeah, it's a big house. That was the other issue, is I didn't realize, just in terms of, again, if you have any window issues, wall issues, plumbing issues, like just the sheer amount of space is so expensive that it truly took us 5 years before we could even have our first rental. And I was, I thought we'd go a little faster, but everything takes a lot of time.
Now in this room, you've got this. So this is the living room, and you actually have a stage in the living room.
Yes.
That's pretty rad.
Kindly built us a little stage. Because again, at these hotels, one of my favorite things is, especially if it's a resort, if they have like a bar or lounge, they have local talent still come in and like sing to you while you're eating your dinner, or like perform on Friday nights. And like, I love that so much. So actually the first weekend that we had fully built the stage and we had friends coming over, I hired a local magician to like surprise everyone, and he did a magic show right in the living room.
Oh,
and they
how
were like,
cool.
It was so, because people are always like, why a living room stage? And I'm like, here's why. Because you never know, it creates fun.
Exactly. Well, if you're entertaining and if you're sort of entertaining on a regular basis, it's a great, you can do, karaoke up there, or
exactly. Lots
watch
of
someone perform. You have a piano in this room too, but it's a very beautiful room. This room feels very kind of vintage 70s to me. It must be the wallpaper.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the wallpaper you used here.
So this was the room that, even though a lot of our rooms are either pink or red, I really wanted this room to feel that warm 70s, almost like you walked into maybe someone's grandparents' house, that they haven't updated the decor, like just very like matching the wood tones that were already there. So the brick and the wood, I wanted it to totally feel like it was part of that, like it could be old. So the wallpaper, I specifically was looking for that 70s sort of style. And I had followed Poodle and Blonde for a long time and was like, okay, I know I've seen them post some very vintage looking things. So I think we picked a couple of their wallpapers to like get samples of. And then once I saw this one in person, I was like, okay, well, this is the vibe we're going for. So like, we have to make sure everything else fits kind of this theme. And it's this like deep color scheme that I wouldn't normally go for. Again, I'm usually going for like reds and pinks, but this is like a deep like greenish bluish with like I can design based off of, again, I'm kitsch, so I copy things. I don't know names of colors or anything,
Yeah.
but this design just felt so authentic 70s. And so many people have seen the house, whether they're like friends or family or even other contractors who've had to come through for things, will say, "Oh, you left up the old wallpaper. Is this the original wallpaper?" And we're always like,
Oh, really?
"Nope, we did that ourselves." Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the Chain of Fools design, designed by Poconos Blonde.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. You have a piano
so
in
pretty.
here too. Is that a player piano or is that a regular?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is a player
piano. It means it comes with these little discs, or you can buy discs where if you put it in, the piano plays by itself. So it looks like a little ghost might be sitting there playing songs. It's very fun.
And that lounge, that is a giant lounge.
Yes, truly.
Um,
Yeah, it's very large.
I don't think I've ever really seen anything quite like it. It's almost
Yeah,
like a bunch of chase lounges all pushed up together, sort of.
Yeah. We had to find a sofa that you could get multiple sets to like push them all together. I've never seen one that big, but for quite a while, we're trying to figure out how do we, again, these are the questions I didn't ask when we were looking to buy a house. I was thinking, wow, this place is affordable and it's been sitting on the market and whatever. Not, oh, we're going to have to furnish the largest room I've ever seen, again, which is why we had this house for 4 years before we had the sofa in there. And it was always a mixture of like a bunch of chairs, just figuring it out.
Yeah. And then, of course, you have the outside hot tub with the neon sign that says tub time. So that's nice.
And, if you know Michigan winters, you kind of have to get the hot tub.
It's really cool. It's really impressive that you styled and designed all that. I mean, I know you have inspiration from lots of different hotels and stuff, but it looks like it came together really great. So
thank you.
That is there anything like around that home, like where are you getting lots of kind of tourists coming through? Is it like what are the attractions sort of in that area that would make someone look for a place there? Aside from going
to the house,
aside from going to the place itself just to experience the place.
Yes. Right.
Are there other things around there that people would go visit?
I think there are, but not necessarily what our audience would be visiting for. So we're in the southwest area of Michigan. We're close to the lake. There are beautiful beaches, but obviously only in the summer in Michigan. We're only an hour and a half outside of Chicago. So there are a lot of Chicago people who will come for a weekend. So it's I would say it's a vacation town because there are so many more people there in the summer. It really has a lot to offer in the summer. And then in the winter, it's a lot harder because some of the businesses shut down for the winter and the beaches are obviously frozen. So if you like that, that's cool. But I'd say most people who are coming out in the summertime are going to the lake and they're going to wine tours or they're going to the dunes. There are really big dunes that people climb. So
how far is that
it's actually there are dunes like 20 minutes from our house, so it's pretty close. And then there's nice beaches 5 minutes away. So it's really like if you wanted to come for a vacation, there are great places if you're just like looking to sit by the beach, or like we rent a boat a couple times a year just to go out with our friends, and the lake is gorgeous. There's a lot of bars and restaurants, again, sometimes only open in the like on season. But I would say it's pretty good for vacationing just because it's really built for especially people from Chicago coming up in the summertime. So we've had 1 or 2 people now flying in, like just to stay at the house because that's where they want to stay, which is very cool. But I do think there's a lot of people from Indiana, Michigan, and Illinois so far that just drive for the weekend.
Okay, cool. And that place has its own. You have its own Instagram, right? What is the Instagram for the Airbnb?
Yes, the Instagram for that is Sweetheart Hideaway.
Sweetheart Hideaway, that's it.
That will stay just for the house because I figure, I've been posting about the house almost exclusively for a year as we've finished the design. But now I'm like, well, now I want to talk about hotels again. So I kind of
Hmm.
decided to move the house somewhere else. So I'm sure I'll do
Okay.
updates every once in a while, but not as constant as I was.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested in everything that's gone into the house, they can follow along on your Instagram, which is at a pretty cool hotel tour. And they can
Hmm.
see everything that you've been posting for pretty much the last year as you
Yeah.
build out that house. One thing that I thought was really interesting is that um, your husband, is also featured in a lot of your Instagram reels and things like that. And you guys are a partnership and doing this together, which is really cool. Um, but I was like, I couldn't quite figure it out as like he's not like a carpenter or a woodworker or anything like that, but it doesn't stop him from doing things, and it turns out really well.
Yeah.
Like
He's
I saw
incredible.
one where he's like, I don't know anything about wood, but I'm gonna do this, and it turned out great. And I was like, oh,
Yes.
so he's
Yeah.
handy. He has like he's a handy guy, but maybe he
Hmm.
doesn't know that he's handy,
Yeah.
or
I
he's
think he
just
doesn't
throws
he
caution to
doesn't
the
like,
wind.
I think he doesn't like doing things that he's not sure if he's good at it. So a lot of times he's
Yeah.
like, I don't even want to try. But it truly was after we had to do a couple of major house things that we realized any type of contractor is going to be so much more expensive. So I was like, if you could even just learn a few of these skills, it can save us 10 grand on a project. So it went from him going, I don't want to do any of it because I don't want to mess up, to, fast forward a couple years in, and I'm going, hey, we need built-in benches and a heart-shaped window frame, and I want it all stained, and I want it to be perfectly symmetrical. And someone gave me a $15,000 quote, so I need you to do it. And he would be like, okay. And he'd go sit on YouTube and like watch all these videos about like what tools and how to do it. And like every time he'd be like, keep your expectations low. And then he would be incredible and totally nail. Like truly every time I would say, you always tell me like I might not do this perfectly, and then it's so much better than I could have even expected. So I do think he has that, both the skill of being able to actually be very handy, like figure things out, but he's also
Hmm.
really good at locking in on like a YouTube video or YouTube videos for hours to be like, okay, I've seen it all. I know what people use. I know what they say to do. I know what they say to watch for. Like he could really lock in. And I feel
Yeah.
like if we hadn't worked together for a decade before we started the house, I don't think it would have been so easy to know what his skills were. But because I've worked with him for so long, I know he tends to like undersell and be like, I don't know if I could do it. And I wouldn't want to push him if I really believed him. And instead I'm like, well, I know that you're actually really good if you just like let yourself try. So it
Yeah.
ended up kind of working out for us.
Well, you must make it easy for him too, because I imagine if he didn't do a good job and you're just like coming down on him for doing such a terrible work or something, he'd probably be like, "All right,
Yeah.
I'm never trying that again."
Right. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
again, like if he was letting me down all the time, I would probably be like, okay, let's stop. Let's not have you try so much because it's kind of like
Yeah.
it's making me sad. And instead, and I think too, as much as the hotels were my interest at the start, I think he started realizing how cool it would be to incorporate this into our life in a way that felt more tangible. Like instead of just like showing people photos, he's like, oh my gosh, people are going to come over and sit on my benches. They're going to see the flooring that we installed. They're going to like, so now he'll walk around the house giving our friends or family a tour and be like, and then I made this and I stained this and I wired this in, and I'm like, I knew he could do it, but it sometimes takes the right situation or scenario or the right boss to encourage
Yeah.
it out of you. So yeah,
Or the price tag to go, okay, I'll do it myself.
yes, yes. The magic
Right.
thing was always getting the quote and saying, "Look at how much money we're gonna have to spend on this," and then he'd be like, "Okay,
Right.
let me try."
Well, good on him for diving in and doing a good job and throwing caution to the wind.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
very impressed.
So I've taken up enough of your time today. I really appreciate you spending some time with me and explaining everything. One last thing I just want to, or a couple more things just before I let you go. One of the things that I find the most endearing when I was following you guys and watching your YouTube stuff is it's about like, depending on when you're in kind of your hotel era or whether you're doing your rental era of your kind of social media journey or YouTube journey. It's one thing to go like, okay, well, it's about hotels or it's about decorating the home. But what I found sort of really endearing was it's really about the love story between you and your husband, I find. Because I look at that and I say, they're just living and enjoying their lives and seeing, awesome places. It's not really about the place. Like, it is if you want it to be, but really what you're seeing is a married couple really just going on an adventure every day. And whether that adventure is like road tripping, joining the Mile High Club, or like putting up wallpaper together, like I just think that's really sweet. And that, to me, that's the real story that undergirds everything that you're putting on the social media. It's just your love story, which is awesome.
Well, I love that. Thank you. I think capturing these places slowly made me realize we were also capturing our lives in a way that we hadn't done before. And I was like, oh, before it felt like, can we justify spending all this time creating content? And I started to watch back the videos and I was like, well, this is the most precious thing I've ever had, is this footage of like what we are doing. And if we weren't creating the content for the internet, we wouldn't be filming all of this. So I think it has been really special to kind of get to look back and be like, wow, not a lot of people have that captured, even if they have these moments or these trips or this person. Like it is pretty rare. So I love that you say that. I think also because we didn't come from like an influencer background, I can struggle between like, are we showing too much of ourselves? Are we being annoying? Should this just be, I've gone in and out of incorporating us into it. But I think the house forced me out of that fear because we were the ones doing the house. So I kind of had to get used to being like, no, this is our story and our page and our project. And like, I think that's cool if that's something that you're enjoying out of it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's always a balance of like, is this sort of sacred and private and special, and what's for public consumption? But
totally, yeah.
But a lot of people are interested in what you're doing. Obviously, you've got well over 500,000 followers on Instagram, and subscribers are growing on YouTube, and it's people are loving what you're putting out. So that's great.
Yeah.
So
really fun.
One last time, just to make sure, they can follow you at A Pretty Cool Hotel Tour on Instagram, or they can follow the rental property at, what was it again?
Sweetheart Hideaway.
Sweetheart Hideaway, right? And then the YouTube. How do they? Is it Pretty Cool Hotel Tour on YouTube as well, right?
Yeah. So even if you just did youtube.com/A Pretty Cool Hotel Tour, it's always usually the handle.
And then just one last question we ask everybody who comes on the podcast, and that is, what do you do? And you answer it any way that you find fit. What is it that you do to stay creative?
What do I do to stay creative? I think a lot of it is just making sure I'm seeing new things. So going into new places, even if it's a new restaurant or a new park or a new beach, anything that makes me want to take a picture. And just, even if that picture doesn't feel like the creativity, I think it forces my brain to notice something different. And then it might spin into something else. But just like seeing new things, not just online, but seeing new things in person, I think is very inspiring. And then it makes me want to make things or go find more things like that.
Amazing. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you so much for having me.